Welcome back to my YouTube channel, PJ3 Sports. I'm your host as always, Peter Noche. I'm back with my guest, Donovan Myers. We're going to talk about the NFL, break down what we see, what's going to go on for the year 2023-2024 season. We're going to give some matchups, some players to look at, NFL teams, underrated, overrated. Let's get right into it.
Money, money, money team. Money, 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 money team.
So D, who do you like? Who's some of your underrated teams that you see, making, big moves this year?
Well, let me start off with an underrated player that will do really well for the Miami Dolphins, which is David Long Jr. He's a linebacker. He can come in, make an immediate impact. So that's my first player. I mean, the Raiders, they landed Jacoby Myers, and so that would be like a stepping stone for them to – they're not going to do well this year, but that could be like a stepping stone for them to improve a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good asset, adding, putting that with Devontae and Hunter Renfrow. I think that would be a good solid matchup. Yeah. I don't know, some of the players that I see, some underrated players, maybe some youngsters that I could see, jumping off is the two guys for Detroit, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams. I think Detroit, they've been a laughing stock for a while. So to actually see if they actually can get over the hump and be a playoff team for once. I mean, when's the last time Detroit won a playoff game?
It's been a while.
It's been a minute. It's probably been since the Cowboys, got to the Super Bowl. It's probably been that amount of time.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, another underrated team I would say is the Browns. Like, they can really do some damage if they can get back to the Watson we all know, and not the one that likes to get massages.
Oh, exactly. We don't want that Deshaun Watson.
If he can, get back to that form and stay focused on football, maybe we can see something out of Cleveland.
I mean, when you pay a guy $230 million, there's got to be some value that he's going to have to bring to the table at some point. I know the guy didn't play, he only played a certain amount of games last year. Maybe we don't get the old Deshaun Watson from Houston, but can we get a little something? Can we get a guy who can actually take this team to the playoffs? Another player that I like that I'm kind of looking out in the radar, I'm got to be a little biased myself since I'm a Cowboys fan, is definitely Dak Prescott as far as where he's at. I know Jerry Jones has said in the offseason, they're really working on his mentality as far as, him in the big moments. Can he step up?
I feel like Dak Prescott is always going to be that quarterback that doesn't step up. He has in his DNA, he's not clutch. So the Dallas Cowboys can win the division, and I feel like they will, but Dak Prescott is just not – he's not a clutch quarterback, and that's his problem. He doesn't have that Patrick Mahomes in him. He doesn't have that Josh Allen in him.
Yeah.
Just Dak Prescott.
Right.
And until it proves me otherwise, I can't
accept it, yeah.
Yeah.
But even with some of the assets he's added, like we've seen Dak Prescott with good talent his whole career. Now that they have more talent than last year, and knowing the way they played, they got to the playoffs, had a really good regular season record, and then ended up losing to San Francisco. Can they make a run? Can they get to an NFC Championship game? Looks like you don't think so. I gotta see it before I believe it, just like you. He's a player that I'm just going to be watching. Can he actually show us, be that real deep threat? Maybe not Patrick Mahomes-like or, Joe Burrow-like, but can he, eliminate those big mistakes, in the crunch time, big moments? I think that's going to be key.
I mean, you're right. He has all the pieces around him. They just added Brandon Cooks.
Yep.
They have the pieces to be a very successful, playoff team. They can beat out the Eagles for the title. And I love A.J. Brown, but I just feel like he's had injury problems in the past. So if he gets injured, it's going to be kind of hard for them to stay afloat.
Philly didn't really endure any injuries since until Jalen Hurts later in the season against Chicago, when they started to kind of falter a little bit. So if something goes wrong, and we talked about earlier, they lost both their coordinators, offense and defensive coordinators. Let's go through some overrated teams or overrated players you think that are just not going to live up to expectations. Who do you see? Who do you see in your eyes as being overrated this year?
From a media standpoint, I would say overrated for Aaron Rodgers. Like, obviously, he's Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the best quarterbacks, all that. Coming into a new system, he's going to have some adjustments. Everyone does. The Jets, they're a good team, good coach, but they got to actually prove it first. So I think they'll be a middle-of-the-pack kind of team.
Especially with the pieces he has. Can they get the ball rolling right out of the gate? I don't know if they can do that. When you're pairing up, obviously you brought over Alan Lazard and Cobb, who Rodgers is familiar with, but now you got McCole Hardman, you got Corey Davis, you got Garrett Wilson, the number one for the Jets, receiver for the Jets. And then that system that Robert Saleh operates under, how long will it take for Rodgers to adapt to that style, especially at his age? He ain't getting any younger. This is kind of it for him, I think, as far as, his potential of taking the Jets, making sure that they are, can they win the division and be a top contender and getting to the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's
another trade I didn't like in the offseason was when the Giants got Darren Waller. I don't feel like that's going to be a good fit.
No, I don't either. Yeah,
something
that's a great
about
point.
It doesn't seem right. So.
No. I mean, who wants to go to New York right now? I mean, honestly. Saquon doesn't even want to be there right now. He's trying to opt out. And
you got, homeless problem. You got a lot of different kinds of problems. And you got the New York Jets there. So
no, exactly. You don't want to be a New York fan right now, even though, they definitely stay optimistic in this time. But, when it comes to football, not everything else, like you alluded to. As far as overrated, I think this is kind of a no-brainer a little bit. We kind of saw a little bit last year, but Kyler Murray, I think they're going to probably be the worst team possibly this year in the NFL, period. Either them or Indianapolis, but he just does not he's not the same player that when he came out of college. Injuries have just killed him. I think he's going to want out at some point. Now Hopkins is left. You got Marquise Brown. You just have a really ineffective offensive unit and a terrible franchise. I think Arizona's now becoming a laughing stock. So I don't think I don't think that's going to change much. And then I think another one to point out, you might not like this one, since you're a big Titans fan, as I know you are. Ryan Tannehill. I hate to put some shame on it. You put a little shame on Dak Prescott, but you did say some nice things about him. So I'll say a couple nice things about Ryan Tannehill.
Just go off.
I think the good thing I'll say about Ryan Tannehill, he's a good-looking kid. I'll give you that. He's a good-looking kid.
Yeah, he's a handsome-looking fella.
Handsome-looking dude. As far as his football production, I think it's not there. I think, Derrick Henry, he's been the workhorse in that unit. He's always been. But when you don't have the right pieces around you, when you don't have an A.J. Brown, Julio Jones was okay for them. But when you don't have those top, playmakers in your offense, you're going to struggle regardless. But Tannehill just seems like he doesn't know what to do at this point as far as, they don't even know, like the Titans organization don't know who they're going to start a quarterback. It's just kind of crazy to think about it. Like, who are they going to play week one? Is Will Levis going to start, or is
I feel like he will start like around week 8 or something. But like you're right, they don't know what they're doing. And if he can revert back to 2019, Ryan Tannehill, he was very efficient. He wasn't like the best quarterback in the league, but he was very efficient. And if they can get D-Hop and they can get these other guys coming in, I feel like they could be like an efficient offense again.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always going to be competitive with Mike Vrabel.
South Beach. You're always going to have a good time down there. Tannehill was
exactly right.
Tannehill was loose. Living up out there, but Nashville. There's just not much to do out there, Tennessee.
Isn't. It really isn't. Yeah, you got Broadway, and that's pretty much it. A lot of country folk out there.
A lot of country folks that you want to stay away from, because I know you.
No, but you're right. I still feel like the Titans can win the division. I feel like they can. I know that's like a big.
It's a bold prediction. Bold prediction. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bold, but I don't trust Jacksonville yet. I really don't.